Hi everyone, Lex Gray here. There was a recent comment in one of my recent videos that had a very great question, and I'm going to put it on the screen. I hope the commenter doesn't mind, because I very much appreciate their post, their comment, because it feels very genuine, and these are comments I like to see on my channel, and there are many like these, but I believe this one is worth mention because ironically, a day or two before the comment was, at least when I saw the comment, I was thinking about making a video about why I love to play RPGs solo in that context. And I had a couple days at work, good 10-hour shifts, and I was thinking about it throughout the shift. And then I saw this comment, and I'm like, and I also replied, oh, ironically, I was basically planning a video like this. So a complete coincidence. Let me put the comment up on screen here. It's from, I believe, DJ Digit Daniel, if I'm pronouncing that right. He writes, they write, I've been pursuing your catalog of videos and it's really cool, some real novel and original videos takes. If you would humor my curiosity, here's a question. Regardless of how one plays solo tabletop role-playing games, why do you play tabletop role-playing games solitaire? I used to be heavily involved in and committed in the hobby, but I think I'm burnt out, disillusioned. I understand the practical reasons. Why do you continue to engage with this hobby and even make videos about it rather than anyone else? I admire gamers like yourself with so much drive and enthusiasm and often wonder where mine went. This is very deep in some extent, to some extent. Um, I I often like to make lists. Not all my videos have like lists, but it helps me lay out my thoughts. And so I made five particular reasons. Some are broad, and some are actually, to his respect, still just locked in that practical reasoning. So let me lay these out. Again, five reasons. This is like a top five or anything. It's just I want to stick to the usual five formula. First off, there is something that's not on the list, and something that's been a trait, a perk of mine for years is the obsession of a hobby. Again, this is not on a list. It could be, but it's not. I think anybody who has a creative mindset or works on films, has some profession related to filmmaking or technology, as I do, there is that creativity that likes to show its face through a hobby. And so many viewers of mine know I'm an introvert. I don't like to be in big crowds, going out every night, stuff like that. But I feel like this hobby works as a creative outlet for my mind. And so I see it as an obsession, but in a good way, because this is a hobby that really pays off. Not making money through here, which I don't. I barely just started my Patreon with thankfully, one free member so far. Again, there's 0 cents made here. I say payoff because it feeds my need to learn and read these books behind me. And that is what goes into uh, my first reason is the books and the collectibles. My whole life, I have never really been a reader. I don't read nonfiction, fiction. I don't read books in general. But of course, I knew of Dungeons and Dragons as a thing, as a hobby, but never really got into it. Now, I've always had a side obsession. It's right here behind my hand here, collecting this small collection, just got this from a recent convention, collecting like game manuals, video game manuals, console manuals, old tech, like old 90s Windows booklets, whatever, Visual Basic, stuff like that. Just, it's always been a weird, strange collection of mine, hobby. Most of it's in storage. This is like a very recent addition, and it's far in between. But that's really the closest I ever got to like actual looking through something on a printed media. This hobby got me into collecting at a, luckily, well, regrettably at times, but often controlled purchasing power, collecting these games behind me. This is pretty much my entire very small game RPG tabletop role playing collection. It's finally on camera. This is all it. This is all of it out of storage. I got rid of a few things, but most of it is here behind me. Kind of categorized based on old sci-fi, new, our OSR, favorites, etc. And finding all of these games behind me. Oh yeah, board games are right here. I have a little stack of board games, not too much. Going through these books, most of them I have never played. Most of them I skim through. Some are fully read. Some I haven't even read a word. But it's gotten me into having the urge to own a physical item and a book. Upon doing so, I've discovered so many interesting sides to this hobby. Rules heavy games, rules light games, narrative based games, crunchy, again, rules light, rules heavy, the different genres, the universal systems I like. And basically, arguably my favorite RPG of all time, a game that no one has ever heard of that had a run a decade ago, Chronica Fidelis. This game, I've talked about this game many times, well, far in between, but it sits in the back of my mind as my favorite. It has Savage Worlds written all over it, but it's a very, very low, almost no magic fantasy, old Italian Middle Ages. It's a great game. And again, it flew under the radar for many people years ago, but one of my favorites. I don't know why, I just like it. It's just, half of it's the cover and the artwork and the way it lay out the text and the rules. The other half is the gameplay itself. So that's one. Again, collecting the books, reading them, owning them. That is some level of materialism. I cannot argue against that. But I feel like I have it under control because if I weren't, and I've had far more discretionary spending, which I don't, this entire room would be full of books, at least RPG books. So that's one. Again, part of it's collecting, getting those books, especially if I see a YouTuber, another RPG channel like Books, Bricks, and Boards, or Me, Myself, and I, when they talk about a book they come across, then I'm like, oh, you know what? I should look into getting that. But I typically only get it, 99% of the time, I typically only get it in person at a bookstore. And one I'm looking for is Vossen. Books, Bricks, and Board talked about that in several videos, and Vossen is one I'm really intrigued to get my hands on. Okay, number two. This one's kind of a multi-option here. Conflict, chaos, order, world building. This is the part of solo play that can be, like the comment says, again, I'm not trying to decipher or interpret this comment. The commenter does not have to follow up, respond. I'm not assuming anything, but in my own interpretation to an extent, I just said I was interpreting, but let me clear this out. In the middle where it says burnt out, disillusioned, I'm wondering if this is a common thread, a common issue. It could be a multifaceted reason, but I believe world building, the pressure of maintaining the conflict, order, and chaos is part of the burnout. Again, not for this commenter specific reason. They may respond, they may not. I'm not saying they have to. I'm just thinking through my own experience, there were months I was burnt out and I felt like it's too much. It was often always the world itself, the world building. But for most of the time in this hobby, sharing it with you guys, sharing it with the experience with you all, the world building, growing it from an isolated event into a at least manageable world, whether it's an entire, nation, island, or at least just a village, it is the often most rewarding during the session. Obviously, during the session, as you would play in group, experiencing the events unfold, the world building, the chaos order, all that stuff, the conflict, given by the game master, dungeon master, referee, whichever game you play. The world building was the biggest part. Not just your character, not just portraying role playing as your own character, but going through that world, experiencing it from their own eyes, was often the biggest part. But in solo, this can be a very stressful undertaking. The magnitude of this is, it really depends on the load, the encumbrance you put on yourself for managing such a task. That's why not just myself, but many solo RPG channels mention to start small, start in an isolated moment, build what you have to. You don't have to define the entire world. Again, I'm not saying what this commenter is going through. I'm just thinking of myself and what seems to be the most logical reason that a solo player would be burnt out is the magnitude, pressure to maintain a world setting. All the note taking, all the tracking of data. Now, a lot of players love that. I probably would, depending on how long the campaign lasts. But I think this one is monumental because it is the biggest part of defining your narrative, defining your game. So number 3 is one that can be the toughest. This one can also lead to burnout. I'm not trying to make this like a way to push away. I don't want to make this push away anyone from playing RPG solo, but I want to emphasize that this is why I love this hobby. I don't want to make it sound like it's negative. I don't want this to be negative. But this one is key, and I've talked about this before. It is the shaping of perspectives. That's number 3, shaping perspectives, because this adds to your skill set. If you play solo part-time, and then you are a game master and or player in public, with your friends, at game stores, at conventions, I believe playing solo is a valuable hobby, basically a little cheat code to test out your world, to test out your skills, to discover new methods of game mastering, of playing through conflict, because you are going it through yourself. But again, the overload can lead the issue can be that it's just too much and it's conflicting because you're trying to separate your perspective as one person with dueling perspectives. Mostly there's that third audience, as I like to mention, but the 2 primary focuses that you switch between as you play solo is that you are the game master, the world builder, the narrator, the conflict generator, and then on the other side you are the player/player character. The audience kind of mixes and matches with both. But this is where, not on the list, but I've talked about this. This is where oracles and tables come into play. It doesn't all have to be you. You don't have to have all of the workload. You can rely on oracles, on tables, so that your brain doesn't go into overdrive. Now, if you're in the zone, if you have a marathon of solo sessions, that could also lead to burnout. I didn't really expect this video to talk about burnout, but it is part of the reason why I took the comment and read it, because that was a huge part of the comment. Again, I don't want to say disillusioned. I think burnout is more often with all solo players. It's not obviously strict to just this one commenter. It's something very common throughout many players. People will take weeks, months, even years to take a break from the hobby. They might even jump back to group play and then find themselves going back to solo. It always depends on the situation, time, work-life balance, living situation, anything. So again, I think 3 is important because it's the probably the most challenging at first. I think a lot of people can world build, go off existing tables or pre-written adventures, but try going from a group play to solo play, the perspectives is probably going to be the most challenging approach at first. I think this is something that can be developed, can be worked on. Practice makes perfect to an extent, but I think this one's crucial. Number 4 is the absolute love that the community has, and this is a shared ironic hobby. I say ironic because it is. This is again not just me saying this. A lot of YouTubers have said this. It's ironic. It is a solo play hobby, but it is a shared experience that all of you like to enjoy, and that other YouTubers all play too. So the shared experience is for me the most rewarding. I love to record these experiences to talk to you guys about it, see your comments, whether positive or negative. Seeing that I'm not the only one out there that does this, and that there are thousands and thousands of other people out there that enjoy playing RPG solo, and it is absolutely refreshing. It's a big part of the reason why I keep these videos going. I have seen a boost in subscribers recently, I think because I've been putting more effort into my videos, just slightly more effort, because I want to reach more people out there. But yeah, again, the whole community is not toxic, at least for what I've seen so far. Everyone has their own methods of play. Everyone's results are unique. But at the end of the day, we're all playing a tabletop role-playing game by ourselves. But at the same time, it does not feel like it's by ourselves, if that makes sense. And the number 5 is probably one you guys all expected. It is just fun. That is the biggest thing. See, when you're an adult and you have responsibilities, you pay your bills, you have a full-time job, you look for something to escape reality. Think about the early 20th century with the Great Depression. What did people do to escape reality? Nickelodeons. They went to see movies. If I'm remembering that right from film history. People left their house with their families or not, whether or not with the family. They went to enjoy something that was a story, that was a narrative experience, was something with conflict, chaos, others experiencing these things, and you are the audience. That's where my third perspective comes into play for solo play. The game master, the player, and the audience. The fun comes out of the audience's perspective, in my sole opinion. That's why it's fun for me. For me, everyone completely has a different experience, as does this commenter and as other commenters will ahead of them. But I think that's the biggest reason at the end of the day, EOD, because it's fun and it's rewarding. Part of what was number 4, which was the shared community experience. There are so many comments on my channel. I feel like now I'm able to maintain most of reply to a lot of them. You know, there's like 6, 8, 10 comments at best, but I feel like if I keep growing, there'll be more comments. I'll lose control. But in any event, that just more and more shows that people try this hobby out. And this commenter who shared their experience with solo play is mentioning that, again, here it is, that the practical reasons why don't you continue to engage with this hobby rather than anything else. As I see that, I'm wondering, as I'm interpreting that, which I'm not supposed to do, I'm giving myself walls here and I just walk right around them, but I think that might have to do with other hobbies or group play. Which again, I have a very, very small list of friends who know how to play D&D and nothing else. Well, they've dabbled other systems like Maze, Rats, Karen. I've introduced them to other systems, but they typically always only play D&D, which is totally fine. But they don't do what I do here. They don't play solo. Heck, they even like wargaming, which obviously I went through that phase of wargaming. I still have a small interest in it in the background, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. So again, it's just fun. And I'm really glad this commenter took the time to share their experience and their opinion about solo play. and what they dealt with and what the aftermath might have been. So I'm hoping that my opinion here, my top 5 reasons, gave you guys a hopefully shared interest you can relate to. If you just clicked on this video to see why I love solo RPGs, I hope I answered that question for you. I know at times it felt like it's kind of a Debbie Downer, but there has to be a reality and expectation to trying solo. I will say it's been an absolute joyride. I love this hobby to death. It is very fun, very rewarding. The sessions I do on here, the little book reviews, game playthroughs every so often, all of it's fun. Obviously, some will do better in popularity than others. Some will get more views. Well, I'll probably get more. I don't know. That's just how it is. But I do love the hobby. I really do. And out of all the hobbies I've had in my life, from making short films to these book collecting to going to see movies, this is my favorite hobby I've ever had. And to be honest with you, it's probably the most devoted I've had. Why I say it's kind of an obsession. Yeah. So that's really it. I hope this, again, I hope this relates to a lot of you. And I hope, I really do hope the commenter, Daniel, does see this video. Because I want them to share, if they want to share anything more. If I don't know if I helped. I hope a lot of my videos do help, if they, whether or not they help intentionally. But yeah, that's really it. I want to thank you all for watching. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Ring that bell to stay notified. And as always, I will see you next time.